While American nurses are drowning in $80,000 of student debt and barely scraping together rent in a one-bedroom apartment, their counterparts in New Zealand are earning more when you account for actual purchasing power, living walking distance from pristine beaches, and getting 4 weeks of paid vacation. By law, not by luck. If you've ever felt trapped in the American work-till-you-drop cycle, staring at your paycheck, wondering how you're supposed to save for retirement while your rent just went up again, this might change everything. I spent 6 months diving deep into salary data from both countries, interviewing people who made the move, and analyzing the real cost of living, not the fake numbers companies use to lowball you. What I found genuinely shocked me. But here's what nobody's telling you about job number 3. It could literally pay you to move there, with signing bonuses that American companies would never dream of offering. Let's start with number 8, and yeah, we're going least to most surprising because by the time we hit number 1, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about the American dream. Most people assume construction managers make bank in America. Big projects, big budgets, big paychecks, right? Wrong. The average construction project manager in the United States makes about $95,000 a year. Sounds decent until you factor in the 50 to 60-hour weeks, the constant stress of subcontractor drama, and the fact that you're lucky to get 2 weeks of vacation, and even luckier if you can actually take those 2 weeks without your phone exploding. Now, New Zealand project managers, they're making around $105,000 New Zealand dollars. Convert that straight to USD and you get about $65,000. Looks like America wins, right? Not even close. Let me introduce you to James. He's 34, used to manage commercial builds in Dallas, Texas, was pulling in $98,000 a year and thought he was doing all right. Until he actually sat down and did the math. Dallas rent for a decent 2-bedroom, $2,100 a month. Health insurance for him and his wife, $650 a month. Gas for his hour-long commute each way, $300 a month. Student loans from his construction management degree, $480 a month. He was making nearly 6 figures and saving basically nothing. Then he got a job offer in Wellington, New Zealand, $105,000 NZD. His first thought was, that's a pay cut, I can't afford that. But here's where it gets interesting. Wellington rent for a comparable apartment, $1,600 equivalent. Healthcare costs, 0. It's public and actually works. Commute, he bikes 15 minutes now. Student loans, he paid them off because New Zealand has programs that subsidize interest for skilled migrants. When you actually calculate purchasing power parity, that's economist speak for what your money actually buys. James is now effectively making the equivalent of $118,000 in terms of lifestyle. He works 40 hours a week. Not 50, not 60, 40. He's never missed one of his son's rugby games. And according to a 2024 Reserve Bank of New Zealand report, purchasing power in cities like Wellington and Christchurch makes salaries stretch about 28% further, specifically on housing costs. James told me, and I'm quoting him directly here, I thought I was taking a pay cut to move. Turns out I was getting my life back. But construction managers aren't even in the top 7. Wait until you see what teachers are making. You literally won't believe number 5. American nurses are getting absolutely robbed, and most don't even realize how bad it is. The average registered nurse in America makes about $77,000 a year. New Zealand, $85,000 NZD, which converts to roughly $52,000 US. America wins again, right? Hold on. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 29, was a pediatric nurse in Columbus, Ohio, making $79,000. Thought she was doing okay. But here's what her actual financial life looked like. Student loans, $42,000 remaining. Monthly payment, $380. Health insurance through her hospital, $220 a month. Annual deductible before insurance actually covers anything, $3,000. So she's paying roughly $6,000 a year just to have access to healthcare as a healthcare worker. The irony was killing her. Sarah moved to Auckland last year. She's making $83,000 NZD. In American dollars, that's about $51,000. Sounds like a massive pay cut. Except her student loans? New Zealand has forgiveness programs if you work in rural or underserved areas for 3 years. She qualified. Her healthcare costs? Zero. Public system. She actually has better access to care than she did working at a hospital in Ohio. And here's the kicker. New Zealand legally mandates nurse-to-patient ratios. In Ohio, Sarah regularly had 7 patients on a night shift. In Auckland, it's 4. Maximum. Do you know what that does for burnout? A 2024 study from the New Zealand Nurses Organization found that burnout rates among Kiwi nurses are 41% lower than their American counterparts. 41%. When you factor in no healthcare costs, lower debt burden, better working conditions, and 4 weeks of vacation that she actually uses, Sarah's effective salary is equivalent to about $91,000 in terms of quality of life. She cried when she told me she can finally start thinking about having kids. In America, she couldn't even imagine it. If you're a nurse watching this, stick around until the end. I'm going to show you exactly how to get licensed in New Zealand and which agencies are actively recruiting Americans right now. But nurses aren't even in the top 5. Number 6 is about to make every accountant and software developer in Silicon Valley spit out their overpriced cold brew. Tech bros, you might want to sit down for this one. The average software developer in America makes about $110,000. In New Zealand, about $95,000 NZD, which is roughly $59,000. USA wins by a landslide, case closed. America is still the promised land for tech, right? Not. So, fast. Let me show you the math that Silicon Valley really doesn't want you to see. Meet Marcus. He's 31. Was a full-stack developer in Seattle, making $125,000 a year. On paper, he was killing it. In reality, Seattle rent for his one-bedroom apartment, $3,200 a month. That's $38,400 a year just for a place to sleep. Health insurance for him and his partner, $8,000 annually for a family plan. His student loans from his computer science degree, $680 a month at 7.5% interest because American education is apparently a for-profit scheme. Marcus was making $125,000 and living paycheck to paycheck. He got recruited by a company in Auckland. The offer was $98,000 NZD. His immediate reaction, there's no way I can afford to take this. But then he ran the numbers. Auckland rent for a comparable apartment, $2,100 equivalent. Healthcare costs, 0. Student loan interest in New Zealand, 0%. The government funds it. His new commute, 20 minutes on a train instead of 90 minutes in Seattle traffic. After all expenses, Marcus saves $2,300 more per month in Auckland than he did in Seattle. He's making less and living significantly better. Last month, he bought a house. In Seattle, that was a fantasy. In Auckland, it's reality. The OECD Better Life Index from 2024 found that New Zealand workers report 34% higher life satisfaction than American workers despite lower nominal wages. 34%. That's not a rounding error. That's a completely different quality of existence. And developers aren't even making the most on this list. Job number 4 actually comes with a signing bonus just to relocate. We're talking real money. Here's a sentence that should make every American angry. Teachers in the United States are using food stamps while teachers in New Zealand are buying homes. The average secondary school teacher in America makes about $61,000. Many buy their own classroom supplies. Most work second jobs in the summer. Some drive for Uber on weekends. The profession has become a joke in terms of compensation and respect. New Zealand teachers? They make about $75,000 NZD, which is roughly $46,000. Again, looks like America barely wins. But let me tell you about Elena. She's 38, taught high school English in Phoenix, Arizona for 11 years. Was making $48,000 a year. Spent about $800 of her own money annually on books and supplies because the school budget was non-existent. Worked summer school and tutored on weekends just to make ends meet. She was exhausted. She'd stopped loving teaching years ago. Then she saw a job posting in Dunedin, New Zealand. Small city on the South Island. They offered her $73,000 NZD. She almost didn't apply because she thought she couldn't afford the pay cut. Here's what changed her mind. Housing in Dunedin costs about 40% less than Phoenix. The government fully funds her pension, not like Social Security in America, where we're all just hoping it still exists when we retire. She gets 12 weeks of paid time off annually. 12 weeks. And here's the thing that broke her. Teaching is actually respected in New Zealand. It's considered a prestigious profession. Parents don't scream at her. Admin supports her. Kids actually listen because the culture values education. Elena now owns a 3-bedroom house 10 minutes from her school. She surfs every weekend. She told me, "I forgot teaching could actually be joyful." A 2023 Victoria University study found that teacher retention rates in New Zealand are 67% compared to America's 44%. More than half of American teachers quit within their first 5 years. Why? Because we treat them like garbage and pay them accordingly. Teachers, if you're watching this, and I know so many of you are, DM me on Instagram. I've compiled a resource list specifically for educators looking to make this move. You deserve better than what America is offering you. But here's where things get really interesting. There's one job where New Zealand doesn't just pay a little more. They pay almost double in real terms. You'll never guess number 3. While America has been telling everyone they need to go to college and rack up 6 figures of debt, we've created a massive shortage of skilled tradespeople. Electricians, plumbers, welders. These jobs are disappearing in the U.S. because we've spent 30 years telling kids that working with your hands is somehow beneath them. New Zealand didn't make that mistake. The average electrician in America makes about $60,000. Long hours, often no benefits if you're an independent contractor, brutal weather conditions depending on where you work. In New Zealand, electricians make about $78,000 NZD, roughly $48,000 base salary. But here's where it gets insane. New Zealand is desperate for electricians. We're talking severe labor shortage. So they're offering up to $15,000 relocation bonuses just to move there. They put electricians on a fast-track residency pathway. You can literally get permanent residency in 6 months if you have a job offer. Let me tell you about Deshaun. He's 27, was working as an electrician in Atlanta, making $58,000 a year. No benefits, 60-hour weeks in the summer heat, constant pressure to work faster and cheaper. He saw a job posting for an electrical company in Christchurch. They offered $76,000 NZD plus a $12,000 relocation bonus plus help with visa costs. He thought it was a scam. It wasn't. Deshaun now works 40-hour weeks, strictly enforced by union regulations. He has full health coverage. He bought a camper van and explores the South Island every weekend. He's learning to snowboard in the winter. He told me something that stuck with me. In America, I was just labor. In New Zealand, I'm treated like an actual professional. According to 2024 New Zealand immigration data, electricians are on the straight-to-residence pathway. 6-month approval time. That's faster than most Americans can get a passport renewed. And here's the crazy part. Job number 3 pays so much more that American companies are literally trying to poach people back with counteroffers. And they're failing. California winemakers, I need you to sit down for this. The average winemaker in Napa Valley makes about $68,000. You're working in one of the most beautiful places in America, surrounded by rolling vineyards, and you're barely scraping by because Napa rent is absolutely insane. New Zealand winemakers? They're making about $95,000 NZD, roughly $59,000 base salary. But that's where the surface numbers end and the real story begins. This is the job American wine companies don't want you to know about because they're hemorrhaging talent by the barrel. Many New Zealand wineries include housing or housing stipends. We're talking cottages on the vineyard property or $1,000 a month housing allowances. Profit-sharing schemes are common, 10 to 20% bonuses in good years. And you're not just making wine. You're making New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, which has become the global gold standard. Meet Chun. She's 35, was working at a boutique winery in Sonoma, making $72,000. She was sharing a rental house with 3 other people and couldn't afford to fix her car when it broke down. She got recruited to Marlborough. That's New Zealand's premier wine region. They offered her $92,000 NZD plus a 2-bedroom cottage on the vineyard plus profit sharing. She almost said no because she thought she'd be taking a pay cut and isolating herself. She moved last year. The cottage is literally surrounded by grapevines with mountains in the background. Last year's profit-sharing bonus was 15% of her salary, an extra $14,000 NZD. Cost of living in Marlborough is about 50% lower than Sonoma. She's saving more money than she ever did in California, and she's working for a winery that's winning international awards. Chun told me, "I wake up every morning to mountains and grapevines, and I'm earning more than I did in California and living like I'm rich." How is this real? The wine industry report from 2024 found that New Zealand winemakers have 89% job satisfaction compared to California's 61%. If you're in the wine industry and you've never considered this, you need to ask yourself why. Is it because you didn't know? Or because you're scared? But we haven't even hit the top 2 yet. Job number 2 literally lets you retire 10 years earlier than your American counterparts. And it's a profession most people think pays less overseas. American dentists look rich. Big houses, nice cars, country club memberships. But here's the truth nobody talks about. They're millionaires on paper, but slaves to debt. Kiwi dentists? They're actually free. The average dentist in America makes about $180,000 a year. New Zealand dentists make around $160,000 NZD, which is roughly 98,000 US dollars. That's a massive pay cut, right? Why would any dentist ever leave America? Let me show you the trap. The average dental school debt in America is $300,000. At current interest rates, you're paying that off for 25 years. Your monthly payment is probably around $3,000. Malpractice insurance costs between $15,000 and $25,000 annually, depending on your state. So yeah, you're making $180,000. But after taxes, debt payments, insurance, and actually running a practice, you're not exactly swimming in money. New Zealand dental school debt, average of $80,000 because the government subsidizes education. Malpractice insurance, about $3,000 a year because the tort system actually works and isn't a litigation nightmare. Okay, I need to be real with you for a second because I don't want to paint this as some magical fantasy land where everything is perfect and easy. Moving to another country is hard. It's culturally jarring. It's logistically complicated. You'll miss your family. You'll miss the familiarity of home. You'll miss things you didn't even realize you valued until they're gone. Like 24-hour diners or the specific brand of cereal you've eaten your entire life. New Zealand is geographically isolated. It's far from everything. Flights back to the US are long and expensive. If you need to come home for an emergency, it's not a quick trip. It's not a perfect country. They have their own problems. There's a housing crisis in Auckland. Some areas are rainy, like Seattle-level rainy. The cost of imported goods is higher because everything has to be shipped to an island nation in the middle of the Pacific. But here's what's also true. Every single person I interviewed for this video, every single one, said the same thing when I asked if they regretted the move. They all said, "I wish I'd done it sooner." So if this video spoke to you, if any of these jobs made you think, wait, that's me, here's what you do. Step 1. Research the visa pathways. New Zealand's skilled migrant category is surprisingly straightforward. Their immigration website is actually user-friendly. Shocking, I know. Step 2. Get your credentials assessed. Every profession has different requirements. Some require exams. Some require registration. Some are automatic. Step 3. Start applying for jobs. New Zealand companies regularly sponsor visas for skilled workers. They want you there. Step 4. If you're under 30, consider a working holiday visa first. You can live and work there for up to 12 months to test it out before committing. I've created a completely free resource guide with specific links for every profession I mentioned in this video. Visa information, licensing boards, job sites, relocation agencies that specialize in US to NZ moves. It's in the description. No paywall, no email capture, just information. Because here's what I believe. The American dream isn't dead. It just moved to New Zealand. So here's what I want to know. If you could pack up your life tomorrow and take one of these jobs in New Zealand, which would it be and why? And more importantly, what's really stopping you? Is it fear? Is it logistics? Or is it just not believing it's actually possible? Drop a comment with your profession and the number of the job that spoke to you. Let's see which career wins. And if you've already made the move, whether to New Zealand or anywhere else for a better life, tell us your story in the comments. People need to hear it. Someone watching this right now needs to hear that it's possible. Oh, and that thing I mentioned earlier about job number 3? I buried a secret resource in the description that HR departments really don't want you to find. You'll know it when you see it.